In this video, we're going to explore something fascinating, something that has the power to completely transform your life. Have you ever heard of the term self-brainwashing? When we think of brainwashing, we usually imagine mind control tactics first reported by the CIA. Originally, these techniques were developed to reshape the ideology of prisoners of war. Their effectiveness was so extreme that American soldiers captured during the Korean War reportedly returned as communists after being subjected to brainwashing by the Chinese. Sounds terrifying, right? But what if you could take that same technique and use it for good, to reprogram your mind and shape yourself into the person you truly want to become? Imagine if you could rewire your brain to achieve your ideal self. Wouldn't you want to know how to do it? That's exactly what self-brainwashing is all about. And today, I'm going to show you how it works. Have you ever noticed that some people accomplish things that seem far beyond their natural abilities? They declare, "I'm going to achieve this," and even though others doubt them, they actually make it happen. People say, "There's no way you can do that," but somehow they pull it off. Why does this happen? Because high achievers, whether consciously or unconsciously, are using self-brainwashing to shape their beliefs, mindset, and actions. You might be wondering, does self-brainwashing actually work? Let me tell you clearly, yes, it does. And its effects are profound. In fact, what's surprising isn't that it works. It's that more people aren't using it to their advantage. Now, I know the term brainwashing sounds a bit unsettling. After all, we associate it with people being locked away, cut off from their families, and manipulated by cults. But that kind of forced brainwashing happens in extreme, malicious environments. What I'm talking about is something completely different. A safe, intentional, and science-backed way to reprogram your own mind. In fact, modern cognitive science has begun to study self-brainwashing as a legitimate method of personal transformation. In a broad sense, even traditional education can be seen as a form of brainwashing. Not all schools are like this, but many follow a rigid system. Students sit in identical desks, follow the same curriculum, and are conditioned to fit into society in a specific way. This is a form of programmed thinking, just not one we usually recognize. Now, here's where things get exciting. People who have struggled in life have completely turned things around using self-brainwashing. If you're not where you want to be right now, it's not because you're untalented or incapable. It's possible that your brain has simply been programmed by outside influences, negative beliefs, limiting thoughts, or societal conditioning. In this video, I'll introduce real, expert-backed techniques to help you reprogram your mindset for success. I know this works because I've used it myself. One of my biggest achievements with self-brainwashing was growing my TikTok following from 0 to over 100,000 without any prior experience, connections, or special skills in social media. I'm not a genius. I didn't have some hidden talent. The only reason I was able to achieve this was because I rewired my mind through self-brainwashing. And the best part? Everything I'm about to teach you is 100% free. There are plenty of shady people out there trying to sell expensive courses and products using this kind of concept, so be cautious. Now, let's dive into the exact steps of self-brainwashing and how you can use it to transform your life. What is self-brainwashing? Let's start with the conclusion. Self-brainwashing is a technique for achieving your goals by deliberately shifting your comfort zone, by creating a sense of discomfort in your thinking and harnessing that discomfort. You can reprogram your mindset to work in your favor. Your comfort zone is the range within which you feel at ease. For example, have you ever noticed how you can completely relax at home, yet feel somewhat uneasy in a place you're visiting for the first time? That's because your home falls within your comfort zone, while unfamiliar places lie outside it. This principle applies to all aspects of life. Take weight loss, for example. Many people who lose weight eventually regain it. This happens because their brain unconsciously tries to restore their original comfort zone weight. The same goes for money. Even if you tell yourself, "I want to be rich," If your current income level is embedded in your comfort zone, any sudden financial windfall, like a bonus or lottery winnings, tends to disappear quickly. In fact, statistics from the US show that 44% of lottery winners lose everything within 5 years. Humans are naturally pulled back to their comfort zones. This isn't a flaw, it's an instinctive survival mechanism. Without it, we wouldn't even be able to function. For instance, your body temperature is always regulated at around 36 degrees Celsius. When it's hot, you sweat to cool down. When it's cold, your body burns fat to generate heat. Without this self-regulating system, if your body temperature started rising uncontrollably, you would die instantly. This mechanism, the tendency to return to an original state in response to environmental changes, is a universal biological law that applies to all animals. However, there is one unique life form that can trigger this system not just through physical changes in the environment, but through changes in information and perception. That life form is us, humans. Think about it. When you watch a sports match on TV, why do you feel nervous as if you were one of the players? When you hear a scary story, why do you get goosebumps, even though the room temperature hasn't changed? This happens because the brain reacts to information just as it would to physical reality. In other words, our body and mind don't just respond to the external world. We are also shaped by the thoughts and beliefs we internalize. Now, let's get back to the core idea. If you can raise the baseline of this self-regulating system, your comfort zone, you will automatically move toward a higher level without extra effort. Think about a school test. Student A is satisfied with scoring 60, while student B, who usually scores in the high 90s, feels frustrated even with a 90. For A, a score of 60 is within their comfort zone, so their next test score will likely be similar. For B, however, 90 is below their comfort zone. It feels uncomfortable. So, without even thinking about it, B's brain works to restore the status quo by making them study more or refine their learning process. As a result, they'll score in the high 90s again on the next test. This process happens unconsciously. Humans are controlled by their comfort zones. Some people naturally operate at a high comfort zone, like B. Others remain at a low comfort zone, like A, and feel no urgency to improve. Now consider successful people, high achievers, people living their ideal lives, individuals who earn significantly more than others. It's not that these people succeeded because they had superior abilities. Rather, they raised their comfort zone to a level where success became their new normal. If you stay in your current comfort zone, no matter how hard you try, you won't see real results. Instead, you'll be trapped in a cycle of effort and struggle, eventually burning out. You don't want that, right? If you want to improve your life without forcing yourself to constantly push harder, the key is to consciously shift your comfort zone through self-brainwashing. By mastering this technique and strategically reprogramming your mental baseline, you can create the reality you desire, effortlessly. So, how can you expand your comfort zone to achieve your dreams? Today, I'll introduce 2 concrete methods to help you do just that. One of these methods is incredibly powerful for rewiring your mindset. However, if you don't follow the right precautions, it can backfire and lead to outcomes you don't want. That's why it's crucial to use it correctly. Now, let me share these 2 methods for shifting your comfort zone. The first method is writing things down. When it comes to achieving your goals, writing things down is the most fundamental step. It might sound too simple to be effective, but let me be absolutely clear. What you put down on paper will come true. I know what you're thinking. No way. If success were as easy as writing things down, life wouldn't be so hard. I get it. It's natural to be skeptical. The idea that merely putting words on paper can manifest real results seems too good to be true, right? But here's the thing. Most people don't even try. Despite knowing that writing things down can work, the majority never actually do it. And if I hadn't taken that small step myself, I'm certain I wouldn't have been able to achieve my dreams. Let me share a personal experience that left me stunned. Recently, while cleaning my room, I stumbled upon an old notebook where I had written down my goals and aspirations. Out of curiosity, I flipped through its pages. What I saw left me speechless. Become an influencer with over 100,000 followers. Gain full control over my work and schedule. To my surprise, I had accomplished most of what I had written. Some goals were still left unmet, but the vast majority had become a reality. Why does writing on paper help you achieve your goals? The reason is that writing on paper allows your subconscious mind to recognize your dreams and goals, setting your brain in motion toward achieving them. The brain is naturally wired to seek answers to questions once they are posed. However, it doesn't just start working in a vague, undefined way. It activates when a goal or question is clearly articulated in words. Many people have vague thoughts like, I kind of want to be like this. But most of those wishes never come true. Why? Because they haven't been clearly defined in words. When you write your goals down on paper, they become concrete. Your brain then automatically starts searching for ways to achieve them, even when you're not consciously thinking about it. This process alone is powerful, but there's a way to make it even more effective. Keep your written goals with you. Personally, I take photos of my goals and save them on my smartphone so I can access them anytime. I make it a habit to look at them whenever I have a moment to spare or when I'm feeling relaxed. This repeated exposure is crucial. By seeing your goals frequently and imprinting them in your mind, they gain higher priority in your subconscious. As a result, you will naturally start taking actions that bring you closer to achieving them, often without even realizing it. As a first step, try writing your goals down on paper. It might be the small action that sets everything in motion. The second method for expanding your comfort zone is to harness the power of habits. After writing down your goals, take a moment to visualize the habits you would naturally have after achieving them, or the habits of people who have already reached that level of success. Whenever I talk about self-conditioning or the subconscious mind, I always emphasize the importance of habits as the most powerful tool. That's because once a habit is ingrained, nothing is more influential. At first, forming a new habit can feel difficult, even painful. But once it becomes second nature, the discomfort comes not from doing it, but from not doing it. Habits take over, and your body starts to move automatically. I'm sure you've experienced this in your own life. Humans are deeply driven by the force of habit. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza describes habit as when you've done something so many times that your body knows how to do it better than your mind. In other words, while we often think our minds control our bodies, the reverse is also true. Our bodies can influence our minds. Take, for example, someone working in an environment with excessive overtime. Deep down, they may constantly think, I want to quit soon. Yet, years go by, and they remain in the same place. From the outside, others might say, you'd be happier if you changed jobs. You'd work fewer hours, too. And logically, that makes sense. But the person still can't leave. Why? Because their body has adapted to the habit of overwork. Their nervous system is conditioned to that routine, and even if their conscious mind wants change, their subconscious and physical self have settled into the status quo. That's the power of habit. This might sound like a concerning example, but the reverse is also true. By intentionally cultivating positive habits, you can force your comfort zone to shift to match the level of your ideal self. Instead of trying to change your thoughts first, you change your body and actions, and your mindset follows. This is the second way to transform your comfort zone: leveraging habits. Our minds are shaped by our habits, for better or worse. So after writing down your dreams and goals, ask yourself, what habits would I have if I had already achieved them? Or, what habits do successful people in this area have? Then, start practicing those habits today. At first, it will feel awkward, even unnatural, but after a month, 3 months, 6 months, you'll likely reach a point where not doing them feels strange. When that happens, your comfort zone has already expanded to meet your ideal state. Write things down on paper and turn them into habits. If you do these two things, your comfort zone will gradually expand, and your brain will start working toward your ideal reality. In other words, you will have successfully self-brainwashed yourself. However, as I mentioned earlier, there are important things to be mindful of when practicing self-brainwashing. The biggest one is emotion. Whenever we think about something, emotions naturally come along with it, and depending on the type of emotion, our thoughts can either work for us or against us. Let me explain this further. For example, imagine someone tells you, "You're amazing." Your response to that statement can completely change its impact. If you think, "That makes me happy," it reinforces a positive mindset. But if you think, "This person is just trying to flatter me," it creates doubt and negativity. Even if the exact same event occurs, the emotions you associate with it can alter its meaning entirely. That's why emotions should never be overlooked. When engaging in self-brainwashing, the key is to ensure that your emotions remain positive. Many people who practice techniques like the law of attraction, affirmations, or visualization often say things like, "I'm taking action every day to improve my reality, but nothing is changing." In many cases, this happens because they unknowingly carry negative emotions. No matter how often you repeat affirmations like, "I'm rich," or "I'm dating my ideal partner," if deep down you're thinking, "Yeah, right," or "I don't believe this at all," your brain will work toward reinforcing those thoughts instead. In the end, you're actually manifesting the reality of "I don't believe it" or "I can't do it." This completely backfires and cancels out your efforts. I've personally experienced this mistake. I used to believe that simply visualizing success would make it come true. Even though I didn't truly believe it, I kept repeating affirmations like "I am rich" every day. But no matter how long I waited, nothing changed. Why? Because I was doing it with negative emotions. My subconscious was holding on to doubt, and my brain was working to maintain that doubt as my reality. So, how can you use emotions in a way that actually benefits you? I'll introduce two powerful techniques for adjusting your emotions and making them work in your favor: meditation and letting go of the need to control the how. Have you ever wondered why so many of the world's most successful people practice meditation? The reason is simple: it works. Until a few years ago, meditation was regarded with suspicion by many people outside of Buddhist circles. However, today, companies worldwide, including major tech giants like Google and Apple, offer meditation programs for their employees. Meditation helps suppress negative emotions and makes it easier for images of your ideal self to take root in your subconscious. You've likely heard the advice: visualize your goals repeatedly in your mind to make them a reality. However, when you're awake and fully conscious, your rational mind tends to dominate. No matter how much you try to picture your ideal self, logic often intervenes, questioning your ability to achieve it. For instance, if you try to imagine yourself as wealthy, your rational mind might immediately counter with doubts. How can that be possible with my current salary? This kind of reasoning leads to negative emotions such as disbelief and self-doubt, making visualization ineffective. Meditation, on the other hand, brings your brain into a relaxed, near-sleep state where the subconscious becomes more dominant than rational thought. Think about how, when you're asleep, you can have the most improbable dreams without feeling uncomfortable about their impossibility. In the same way, when you're deeply relaxed during meditation, even unrealistic visualizations can be accepted by your subconscious more easily. Scientific research supports this. Studies measuring the brain waves of people meditating have shown that alpha waves, associated with relaxation, become prominent when they close their eyes and meditate. The best time to visualize your goals is when these low-frequency brain waves, such as alpha waves, are present. Interestingly, experienced monks who have mastered meditation are even capable of producing theta and delta waves, brain waves even closer to deep sleep, while remaining awake. Meditation is no longer something mysterious or questionable. It is a scientifically proven practice with real benefits. To begin, use meditation to clear your mind of negative emotions. Then, as a technique to regulate your emotions, try deliberately avoiding thoughts about the path to your goal. Instead of fixating on how to get there, focus on visualizing yourself already having achieved it. So far, this is fine. However, some people immediately start thinking about the exact steps needed to achieve their goal, saying things like, I need to do this first, then that, and then finally I'll get there. But thinking that far ahead during the visualization stage can be dangerous. Most people tend to feel anxious when they get too caught up in the details. They might start thinking, I need to increase my workload. Maybe I should take on a side job too, but that sounds difficult. What if I can't do it? For example, even if you try to imagine yourself as wealthy, you might end up worrying about all the steps needed to get there, eventually getting overwhelmed by negative emotions. To avoid this, I recommend a different approach. Don't think about the path to success at all. Simply visualize yourself having already achieved your goal. Then forget about the image itself and focus only on the emotions that come with it. It could be a sense of accomplishment, confidence, joy, or excitement, whatever you would feel at that moment. Just immerse yourself in that feeling. This way, you won't get anxious. Instead, it will naturally guide you into a state of self-brainwashing. Now, self-brainwashing isn't easy. The key to effective brainwashing is that it happens without you realizing it. Trying to brainwash yourself is like telling someone, I'm about to brainwash you, before doing it. In comparison, brainwashing others is much simpler. However, once you successfully brainwash yourself, there's nothing more powerful. You will start moving toward your ideal self effortlessly without even being aware of it. This method is a simplified version of a process that is normally quite difficult, an approach that anyone can use for self-brainwashing. If you experience any results, I'd love to hear about it. On this channel, I explore the integration of the spiritual and material worlds, sharing the fastest, most effective ways to achieve personal awakening. I created this channel because I want to help more people break free from limitations and live a life that feels true to them. I am a mentor for emerging spiritual leaders, a specialist in next-generation deprogramming, and an active strategist navigating the modern era of cognitive warfare. I don't know how long I'll be sharing content on YouTube, so don't miss out. Make sure to subscribe. For those interested, I share exclusive insights in my newsletter about the fastest and most effective way to unlock your full potential. Content I can't post on YouTube. If you'd like to learn more, check the link in the description and sign up. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.